Welcome back to Parent Life. I'm Kevin, this is my wife Allie. If you're just joining us, we're new parents and we've been making videos about it. So consider subscribing if you want to see more stuff. Also, I don't do this disclaimer enough before our videos, but we only have one kid and we're amateurs at this, and we're just talking about like what we've done. Not that you have to do what we do. I don't say that enough. I know there'll be people who are like, you're doing it the wrong way, and that's fair. But this is how we're raising our kid, and I think there's value in learning from our experience. That's kind of why we're doing this, but this is just what we did and what has worked for us. So know that, use it, but don't feel like you have to do what we do, but maybe learn from our mistakes. So today is an important topic. You know, everyone's all about sleep training, and we're in the middle of sleep training right now, and it's going very, very well.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, this isn't really wood. But I really do think the month and a half that's leading up to sleep training is incredibly important, and I think one of the reasons why our sleep training is going so well right now is because we were pretty regimented, you know, from months like 2.5 to 4. We instituted a positive sleep hygiene routine, and I think that is really paying off now that we're in sleep training. So this video is about that like month and a half, like 6 or 7 weeks that's leading up to sleep training, you know, pre-sleep training, and what we did, why we did what we did, and why we think it's working.
So when we first had the baby, you know, we wouldn't put her down for formal naps up in the crib or the bassinet. You know,
that was a mistake.
Yeah, but I think it's normal. I mean, they're so little that they just will sleep at will wherever, whenever. And she did that for a good month for naps during the day, and I think it was fine. She could sleep fine. But then there got a point to around month 2 when we realized she was getting more sensitive, maybe to light, to sound, and was just overly tired and not getting like full stretches of sleep during the day. So around 2.5 months, we started formally, you know, 90 minutes after she woke in the morning, putting her down in the crib for a nap, and not just the bassinet. So this was our kind of introduction to the nursery, to the crib. Yeah,
so basically what we started noticing was at set times throughout the day, she would get pissed off. And we're like, why is she pissed off? She has no reason to be pissed off. And it was rhythmic, like every day, certainly every day at like 6 or 7 p.m., and every day at like set points throughout the day, she was getting so pissed off, and we're like, why is she so pissed off?
So weird.
And it's so obvious now, like, and she would be like going like this and like yawning, and she was just tired. And I would say, looking back at that, the majority of the time she was pissed off, it was because she was tired.
She cries far less now. Like,
yes.
She rarely cries anymore because we just put her to sleep before she gets upset.
Yes.
Now, you know, we instituted kind of a nap schedule too, where, you know, they say kind of go for about 90-minute wake schedules, and that has proved pretty true for her, where after 90 minutes of being awake, she starts to get a little cranky, and so we'll just put her right back down for the next nap. And so right now we have about 3 of those during the day.
And not everyone is in the crib. 2 of the 3 out of the 3 are almost always in the crib. Correct?
Sometimes all 3 are in
Sometimes
the crib.
all 3 are in
if we're home and it works out.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that we also started putting her in a sleep sack just for naps to get her used to being in a sack rather than the swaddle, which we continued to swaddle her in the bassinet at night yeah. Because it just kind of kept her more, I think, secure and more able to sleep throughout the whole night. At least we thought at first.
But that was a good idea, is during the naps, getting her used to falling asleep not in a swaddle. So that was incredible, because we're sleep training her now and she's not sleeping in a swaddle and she's fine. So during those 3 naps throughout the day, sleep sack. And then another thing we would do at night is we had this device called a Tranquilo. Like, she moves around so much, and it's like a strap that just secures her to the bassinet so she couldn't move. We didn't nap her with that. So when she was going on these naps, she was just like literally moving around the crib, and we don't do that when she sleeps now, and the fact that we didn't do that while she was napping, I think really helped. Do you want to walk these people through a typical day schedule, like when she would get up and when she would nap?
Yeah, so right now, pretty typical day is she will wake up around 7 a.m., wake up, feed, And then by 8:30, she really is, even though she's just slept for 12 hours, she's ready to go back down for a nap. So around 8:30 to sometimes 10:30, she'll do a full 2-hour nap. First thing in the morning, she'll sleep. And then, you know, wake up for another hour and a half, go back down at noon, maybe another 2-hour nap. Sometimes it's only an hour. There's no real rhyme or rhythm to the length of her naps right now, but 12 to 1:30, and then the last nap, you know, 3 to 4:30 or 3 to even 5.
Yeah, we had a rule that was no naps after 5.
Yeah, we read that somewhere. We're like, that's a good rule, because we've been now putting her down at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Which was another big change, is for some reason originally we thought it would be better to have her on our sleep schedule so that maybe we could get more sleep and get her to sleep in. But that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
I call that the Abu Ghraib prison torture. We literally were sleep depriving her. Like, babies will sleep for 12 hours, or they'll be in a crib for 12 hours. And we're like, no, baby, you need to go to bed at 9 p.m. when we go to bed. And she would just be so pissed off. And looking back, we were just straight up sleep depriving her.
Not on purpose. We just thought,
know.
This is when she should go to bed.
So learn from that. If there's a time point in the evening, and you're not even have to be to where you're sleeping through the night, but if you notice at every time they're getting super pissed off, they probably just want to go to bed. Let them go to bed. Mm-hmm. Don't prison torture them.
And I think our consideration at first was to match up with the feeding, and so that, you know, I'd come in, I wouldn't have to wake her up to feed before I went to bed. But, you know, I think that's called a dream feed. You can do that if that's the concern of keeping them up, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, resources, a friend recommended a book. There's so many books out there on sleep. Talk to family members, talk to friends, read online articles. I mean, everything says a little bit different. So there's not one right or wrong way to do it. But for the most part, like the 90-minute wake schedules, napping in the crib, going to bed around 7. I think those are pretty standard sleep tips. Yeah,
we honestly, you know, we talked to the nurses a lot when our baby was born, and they're like, start this around 4 months. So we started the pre-stuff prior to that. And then just like talking to our neighbors, talking to our friends that have kids, that's been the biggest. And she has a sleep training book that we won't really talk about in this video, but just talking to our friends, honestly, seeing what worked for them and kind of learning, you know, like you guys can learn from what we're doing. We learn from our friends who already had kids. Some of them had multiple kids, and that was kind of a really good resource. But I cannot stress enough, 6 or 7 weeks prior to official sleep training, just instituting good sleep hygiene, set schedules, and just like doing that helped, I think, a lot.
And one thing that's interesting, not to say, you know, follow whatever your doctor says, but what's interesting is that they say, you know, the recommendation is that you keep the baby in the room up to a year.
We don't know anyone that does that.
We've literally not met a single person who has kept the baby in the room that long. Almost everybody we've talked to is around this 4-month mark. So, I mean, follow whatever your doctor says if you feel comfortable, but for the most part, we haven't met anybody. And even the doctor says, you know, most people start this way earlier.
So don't feel bad if you kick your child out of the room before a year.
We have her on the monitor. I'm watching her like...
Yeah. You know, you do you. We kicked her out.
Yeah. We need our sleep. So another thing we have instituted with our new practice of putting her in the crib at night.
Which is something we should have done during this pre-training phase. We didn't.
What do you mean?
Like, we didn't do wind down time.
True. We have instituted wind down time, as I call it, which is about,
no, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense.
So like the hour before she goes to bed, so like 6 p.m. since she's going to bed at 7 p.m. I will, you know, we're still down here in the living room. I will dim the lights, make it nice and quiet, turn the TV off, kind of get any screens away.
Play lullabies.
I'll play some lullabies on our speakers. Sometimes we'll definitely put her in the swing a lot. That helps relax her. What else?
Just dim lights, no TV, calm noises, soft speaking. Just, you know, like a normal person would do before they're trying to go to bed. And
bath time if it's a bath day.
Yeah, that too. So that, you know, just setting the mood, getting her ready to go to sleep. You know, we call it wind down time now. That's not something we did during the 6 weeks leading up to sleep training, but I think we should have done more of that. That's just a little pro tip. You know, there's no reason to not do that. You don't need to like be blasting hard rock music right before your baby goes to bed.
And like winding them up with toys and lots of play and tummy time, you know, like save all that for the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Lastly, this may be obvious, but we always have white noise on wherever she's sleeping, so it can be helpful to already have it on in the room before you bring her in there to go down to sleep. So that's kind of just another sleep cue.
And blackout curtains.
Blackout curtains.
Yeah.
White noise machine, like, and they say like crank it up, so it's pretty loud next to her.
And obviously we do that during the naps and then at night. So that's it. Those are just going through, you know, basically for us it was months 2.5 to month 4. I don't see why you couldn't start doing this before the 2.5 mark. Basically, when you get to a point where your child really can sleep through the night with one feed, I think that's when you could start instituting this, you know? So that might be earlier than 2 months for some people, but I really think, you know, we are literally sleep training right now, and we're gonna do a whole separate video on that, and our sleep training is going very well, and I think a lot of that is a month and a half of enforcing strong sleep hygiene, and I think that's paying off now. So that's what we did. Maybe do some of what we did, or talk to some other people, or learn from what we're doing, because we're having some success with it. But every baby's different and every parent's different. This is just what we did, and it's worked well. And nobody really talks about the months leading up to sleep training. They talk about sleep training.
They make it seem like it's a switch that you just turn on and do it.
But I don't think that should be the case. And we've had some success with these methods. So learn from us. Anything else? There's nothing better than a sleeping baby, people. True story. True story. All right. We'll see everybody on the next one.